Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. We know that when we are in love, one portion of this love is lust. Lust means carnal desire. And that wanes away with time. And after that goes away, or at least it diminishes, remains the character, the respect between the partners, whatever they are. And this is when the lust wanes away, people become less flexible with the partner, if the character is not solid. The same thing, I would give you another analogy before I get into this article, because it has to do exactly with that, I think. In a company, if you work for a company and the company is profitable and makes a lot of profit, everybody's happy. The boss will talk to you, maybe have a little cookout somewhere, gonna pay you a big bonus, he's gonna give you a raise, hey Gigi, how are you doing? Or your supervisor, and so on. Everybody is happy. If you something, they're most likely, it's okay, it's all right. But if things are not going that well, and the profit is not that big, and wanes away, or you work in deficit, then all that attitude changes. And people start blaming one another, being quicker to point out people's mistakes, and the consequences are harsher. You have less patience. This is exactly what happens right now among the so-called allies, which is supposedly Ukraine and the United States and its weasel countries. Not weasel countries, vassal states. Let's put it this way. I think it fits better how actually things are. So the same as in a, as I said, relationship or business. When things don't go well, they start pointing fingers and say, hey, what's going on over here? You look at every little thing and you have something to say. Whereas if the lust is still there with everything else, you become more relaxed about things and more flexible. The same with the profit in a company. So what happened? You know that without the Western weaponry and money and support in sanctions and so on against Russia, Ukraine would have been done in 2 weeks. That's my personal assessment. I would give them 3 weeks. They would have been done. Hello, Mary Lou, and so on. So what happened here? The Ukrainians are just resuscitated by the Americans with weapons and everything they got. Money, I would say personnel, generals and others. Repair shops and sanctions against the other ones. This kind of support, political support as well. The problem is things are not going well on the front for the Ukrainians, it seems like. And now they start looking and say, hey, I'm going to blame you for that. And then, no, I'm going to blame you. No, I'm going to blame you. I'm going to blame you. So this is an example, I think, right here of Ukraine starting blaming the Western donors, sponsors, allies, friends, however you want to call them. I have 2 articles, which are related to the same article coming from the New York Times. Ukrainska Pravda. Ukraine did not receive some weapons it paid for with my money, and some of donated weapons are unusable. So they're bad. Now this is what Ukrainska Pravda's headline reads from New York Times. And I have these people who are obviously the bad guys here. The same is the 19th of June 2023. West sent Ukraine broken weapons. So the same from New York Times. Many donated systems reportedly needed extensive repairs. So this could be like a little scheme here. I send you broken things and then you're gonna hire our companies to fix them. And in the meantime, you pay with the money we donate you from our taxpayers. Does it work? Or the bankers that will give you the loans and then you're gonna pay them back with your country and people. Is that how it goes? I know, I'm just paranoid. Forget about it. Again, June 19, 2023. Ukraine did not receive some of the weapons it paid for. With whose money? Because they're bankrupt, basically. But anyway. And some donated weapons are only good to be disassembled for spare parts. The New York Times, citing two sources familiar with the purchase of arms in Ukraine, a high-ranking Ukrainian official and official documents of Ukraine's government. According to New York Times, official Ukrainian government documents claim that as of the end of 2022, Kiev had paid arms supplies more than $800 million for contracts that were not fully or partially fulfilled. Two of the New York Times sources involved in armed purchases for Ukraine, it was not Victor Baut, was he? The merchant of death, said that some missing weapons were eventually delivered, and in other cases, brokers returned the money. One of them added that as early as spring 2023, hundreds of millions of dollars had been paid, including the state-owned companies, for weapons that had never been delivered, including two state-owned companies. Volodymyr Havrilov, Deputy Minister of Defense, who deals with arms procurement, said there were cases when Ukraine paid money but did not receive weapons. According to him, this year the government began to analyze its past purchases and exclude problematic contractors. At the same time, the New York Times noted that problems are inevitable in such large-scale arms purchases as in Ukraine. All right, let's go to these guys here. Many donated systems reportedly needed extensive repairs. Many of the weapons provided to Ukraine by the US and its allies have either required fixing or had to be cannibalized for parts, the New York Times reported on Monday. Kiev has also... Why do I read this and not these guys? Because these guys don't want to make it look as it is. They want to look, and these guys are serious about saying it. Hey, you guys send the wrong parts, you fucked up, and so on. Obviously, they have their own interest. The other guys have the opposite interest. As proof, the Times cited documents provided by Ukrainian officials on condition of anonymity, frustrated with the West, saying they had enough weapons for an offensive against Russia. The Ukrainian attack, which began earlier this month, has resulted in heavy losses of men and equipment without much to show for it. That's true. Now, the Russians say up to 30% of Ukraine's arsenal is undergoing repairs at any given time, according to the outlet, while a lot of Western equipment arrived, and I'm quoting, in poor or unusable condition. One case in point involved 33 American M109 howitzers donated by Italy. According to Rome, they had been decommissioned years ago, but Ukraine asked for them to be refurbished for use. An American contractor was paid $19.8 million to do the repairs. In January, they delivered 13 of the guns which arrived, and I'm quoting, not suitable for combat missions, according to a Ukrainian document. And I'm quoting again. The American company offering its services had no prior intention to fulfill its obligations, end quote. Ukraine's Defense Procurement Director Vladimir Pikuzo complained to the Pentagon in February 3 letter. And I'm quoting, every single one of them worked when we delivered them, end quote. Matthew Herring, CEO of the Tampa-based Ultra Defense Corporation, told the Times, blaming Ukrainians for not properly maintaining the self-propelled guns. There were problems with the U.S. Army equipment as well, according to a report by the Pentagon's Inspector General. Last summer, an Army unit at Kuwait Camp Arifjan was ordered to send 29 Humvees to Ukraine, but only 3 were fit for combat. What the hell? And these guys have a what? $860 billion budget? Jeez, the Pentagon? And they're all what? From 29, 3 were fit? Who gets this money? We know who. Contractors worked through late August to repair transmissions, dead batteries. That's not a big deal. Fluid leaks, broken lights, door latches, and seat belts. This is just not... transmission is bad, but everything else is just minor stuff. First, they don't need... I'm going to tell you what they don't need. They don't need seat belts, all right? They can do without. Door latches, that's fine. You can hold it with your hand, like some people hold them in Romania. Broken lights, you don't need them. Fluid leaks, you need that. Batteries, yes, you need that. Transmissions, of course. When the cars arrived in Poland, however, 25 of them had rotten tires. Yes, because they were sitting. And it took another month to fit enough replacement. Well, the same unit was supposed to send 6 of the towed M777 howitzers to Ukraine in March 2022. But they turned out to need extensive maintenance first. It took 3 months to have them repaired and shipped to Poland, but they then needed further repairs as they were judged non-mission capable. As of December 2022, the Ukrainian government has contracted more than $800 million of weapons and supplies that, and I'm quoting, went completely or partly unfulfilled. So this is what I said from the other article. So it seems like now all kind of bullshit comes out that was kept over there because the lust was still in and the profits were still coming in. That was the only reason. Right now they're like aboard ship. Who are we going to point the fingers to? That's happened. All these things happened before December. That's what, 6 months ago. That happened before, and many things happened before that, but they were kept under the rug. Why? Because they were still in the honeymoon of, yeah, do this with the Ruskies. And the Ruskies did not collapse. Therefore, right now they're like, Jesus Christ, man, where is our investment? We want the returns. Well, there's no returns so far because the Russians are still doing what they do best. Don't listen to you. So, got a little problem. And I expect things to hit the fan pretty soon and very hard. I made a video a minute ago with Hanna Maliar, the deputy of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, a person who talks a lot, like me, and she said that there's a situation, that the situation on the front is complicated. That to say we're fucked. That's what basically my translation of that was. Because if it wouldn't be complicated, they would be winning and going straight ahead, like that. She would not say it's complicated. She said we're rolling towards Moscow. But complicated means we are dead in the water, face down, floating downstream. The same here. You're going to hear more of these things where they're going to start pointing fingers. You didn't give us this, you didn't give us this, you didn't do this for me, you didn't do this for me. Why? Because they're losing. If they were winning, it's okay. That's what I think. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.